In this video, I'm going to take a look at advanced filtering, which is another filtering tool that's available in Excel. And this tool actually allows you to filter on a number of criteria all at once. So I'm just going to enlarge my slide here and talk about what we're looking at. So when you do advanced filtering, you have to create a criteria range. And the criteria range is generally placed above the table that you're filtering. And one of the things that you need to do when you set up your criteria range is to duplicate your header row from the table. That's how Excel knows what to filter when you fill in your criteria. So you'll see here in this slide that the header row has been duplicated and criteria have been entered, and in this first row the criteria of consultant with an annual salary of less than $55,000 and years of service greater than 3 have been entered. Now, in order to pull a record from the table that meets these criteria, all 3 of them have to be true. They all have to be met, or a record will not be pulled out. And the same holds true down here on the second row. In order to pull out a record for a part-time employee, they have to meet the criteria of working at least 2 or more years. Now, between the 2 rows here, either of these sets of criteria can be met and a record will be pulled out. So this is an OR criteria between the 2 rows. Within the rows themselves, it's AND. It must be a consultant and someone who earns less than $55,000 and someone who's worked more than 3 years. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and switch to my spreadsheet, and the first thing that I'm going to do to create my advanced filter is to come down here to the table, and this is an Excel table, and I know that because I'm getting the Table Tools Design tab when I click on it. So I'm going to hover my mouse inside the left-hand border of cell A6 and then click. And what that does is allow me just to select the part of the row that's in the table rather than selecting the whole row. I'm going to copy, and then I'm going to come up to A1 and I'm going to paste my header row. And it's better to use copy and paste here than it is to try to retype the header row because it has to match exactly. Then I'm going to go ahead and enter my criteria, and for this particular table I'm going to enter the criteria that we were looking at on the slide a few minutes ago. First of all, I'm looking for employees whose job status is consultant, whose annual salary is also less than $55,000, and notice that I'm not putting any dollar signs or commas in here. You don't need those in this particular type of activity. And whose years of service are more than 3. So that's my first set of criteria. I'm then going to add a second set. I also want to see the records for part-time employees whose years of service are at least 2 or more. So this time I have to use a greater than or equal to, because I want to include 2 years of service. Okay. So once I have all of the criteria entered, I'm just going to click somewhere in my table, and then I'm going to go to the Data tab on the ribbon, and I'm going to, in the Filter group, or in the Sort and Filter group, I'm going to click on Advanced. So then you get the Advanced Filter dialog box, and the action I want it to take for this particular activity is to filter the list in place. I don't want it to copy it somewhere else. The list range should be the range of the table that you're filtering, and it is. I can tell from what's in the dialog box and also by the marquee border that's surrounding my table right now. And then the criteria range should match the range where I put the criteria, and it does. I did put my criteria in rows 1, 2, and 3. And so I'm not going to check unique records only. I'm just going to go ahead and click OK. And here we have the employees that meet those criteria. So when I'm done with my filter, just like any other filter that you've done in the past, you can go back to the Data tab, back to the Sort and Filter group, and click the Clear button. And that's how you create an advanced filter.